Non-verbal communication. We use this very often to complement our oral communication. Non-verbal communication means communication which does not involve speech or words, but we use gestures, appearance, sound, sign, and various other methods to convey what we want to say. Characteristics of non-verbal communication. It's instinctive. It just happens. Whenever we talk, we use expressions, facial, appearance, gestures to convey what we want to say, and it just comes automatically to a person, and different people use different instincts. Less conscious. We are not conscious about what we do normally, though it can be controlled to a certain extent. Subtle. People can read what you're trying to say, the way you say. Complementary to verbal communication. A verbal communication becomes effective only when non-verbal complements it. Forms the larger part of the overall communication activity. The usage of hands, the usage of eyes, the facial expressions, the way it is delivered, the pause, the tone, the pitch, everything matters. Let's look at Mr. Zhu and tell me which Mr. Zhu do you like? The one who's kind, doesn't his facial expression say so? Or the one who's cold? Would you communicate with him? Let's look at these 4 expressions. Sad. Which Mr. Zhu do you think is very sad? 2. Sleepy. A yawn signifies that he is sleepy. Puzzled. He's scratching his head. And frightened. The look on his face tells you so. So a non-verbal communication can be as expressive as that. Let's look at some more. What's he doing? Mr. Zhu 1 is angry. He's got his fists together. Then you have a very happy Mr. Zhu who is confident. B. Then you have 3 who's very calm, seems to be thinking. And then you have a very disappointed Mr. Zhu. Relationship of non-verbal message with verbal message. There are 6 primary ways in which non-verbal message may be related to a verbal one. Let's see some of them. A non-verbal message can complement a verbal one. When somebody has to be congratulated, not only do we say congratulations, but we also shake our hands with them. It can emphasize a verbal one. If I'm angry, I also thumb the desk and convey my angriness. It can repeat a verbal one. I want you to be away from this place. A non-verbal message can regulate a verbal one. A class teacher may say, "Children, I want you all in your seat right now." It can substitute for a verbal one. A thumbs up sign says all the best. A non-verbal message can contradict a verbal one. Can you imagine conveying a condolence message and smiling? That would be a total contradiction. So one has to be careful. One is conveying a message. Non-verbal communication can be classified into the following categories. Kinesics, which is nothing but body language, which we use extensively during verbal communication. Facial expressions, a smile, anger, eye contact. Whenever good communication happens, eye contact with the person with whom you're speaking is very important. People who are not confident normally will not meet eye to eye. Gestures. Some are positive, some are negative. Negative, let's say I'm very nervous, then I would bite my nails. I'll be very fidgety. Those who are positive gestures, they're pretty confident with the hands on their side and cool. Body shape and postures. If I'm listening to a boring lecture, I might just sit back and may not want to listen. But if I'm very happy with the lecture and I'm very interested in what the person is saying, I may sit forward and be listening very attentively. So the person who is taking the session will know that how it's going depending upon how the student is sitting or not, and the way he's sitting. Appearance. One has to be neat. One has to dress as per the, let's say, a formal dinner, you have to dress formally. If it's a formal occasion, dress formally. If it's a casual meet, you can dress casually. So appearance matters a lot. Let's look at proxemics next. Proxemics, or space, language and surroundings. Not only does the communication matter, but the environment in which communication is happening also matters. Why do hotels spend so much of time on interiors? Because they give you that ambience for you to have a nice communication, or a session with your, either with office people or with your friends at their place. Similarly, office environment also has a decor. If you look at government organization, the person with the highest authority has a huge room with a huge table signifying that he is the man of authority. Paralanguage. While when we communicate, the verbal communication consists of the what, the how part comes from paralanguage. The voice modulation, the pitch, the speed, all this are part of paralanguage. So pitch variation, speaking speed, pause, non-fluencies. Some people may use a lot of okays while they are speaking. It may be very disturbing, it may not be. But some are good, some are bad. So we need to be conscious about those things. Volume variation, how we pronounce a word, and so on. Word stress. How we stress on a word in a sentence also conveys a different meaning. Srikanth is a fantastic bowler. Here the stress is on Srikanth. Srikanth is a fantastic bowler. Here the stress is on how he is bowling. So the stress on word changes the meaning to a large extent. Sign language. Various sign languages are used. To give a classic example are our traffic signals. The zebra crossing tells you where you can cross the street. Similarly, an ambulance signal tells you that you have to give way. Similarly, a touch. When we are very hassled and we get a touch from our mom, we know that there is somebody for us. These are all signs which also convey meaning, and they are not verbose. Let us see some behavioral types, which are positive and negative. Eye behavior. Sustained eye contact is positive. Looking away from the questioner when answering, it conveys lack of confidence. Shifty eyes. You keep shifting your eyes. Keeping eyes downcast. And excessive blinking. These are all signs of lack of confidence. And these are read by the HR departments when they are taking interviews as lack of confidence. Gesture. Relaxed, spontaneous, unrehearsed, related to verbal points made, arms spread expansively out from body. These are all gestures which are considered positive. Hand to face gestures, throat clutching, fidgeting, tugging at clothes, extraneous head movements. When people do these things, these are again signs of lack of confidence. Posture. Open, relaxed, frequent and forceful postural shifts, leaning forward when smiling. This gives the person who is on the other side a feeling that yes, he is being well listened. Constricted position, very, very uncomfortable. Body rigidity. Crossed arms or legs. Arms and hands kept close to the body shows that you are not comfortable at all. the voice, conversational style, appropriate variation in pitch, rate and volume. These are very important when we make presentations. Volume sufficient to convey completeness and dynamism. These are the positive sides of voice. Flat, tense, monotonous, nasal, too fast that a person cannot understand what you're saying. Too many pauses, possibly looking for words. R's, repeated words. These are highly avoidable, especially from a presentation context.